Hello, Kathie J.
Hello, Larry Ulibarri. How's it going?
Good. Welcome back to America.
Thank you. Boy, are my arms tired.
How was that 9-hour flight?
It was they make it really painless for you. I mean, the way that they shut everything down to try to keep you on your schedule. So it's
Little
9 hours ahead.
snackies.
Yeah,
Right.
they encourage you to kind of fall asleep. They wake you up right before. Look, I'm a Beyonce fan. Do you see this?
Oh, look
This
at
is
you. She's crazy in love, everyone. So
But
was
so all of a sudden we were like chasing the sunrise over when we landed over there, which was just amazing to
you
see
were
it coming up
chasing the
over the earth.
sunrise. As a vampire, you're supposed to flee from the
Right,
sunrise.
sunrise,
Right.
exactly. But yeah, so we headed to Transylvania, which was really cool. Landed in Bucharest and like totally we were tourists with people that were from there.
No. I was getting updates as you guys were on your trip, and it was seemed like so beautiful. Like the places where you guys were hanging with people, like they were beautiful. The food looked beautiful. So
Yeah.
every time I was checking in with you guys were having an amazing time.
Amazing time. So we went out for my girlfriend Anka. She is from Romania, and so I've been in love with like Dracula forever. So I think I like manifested a friend from Romania, and so when she was
You're
like,
all, all those dark candles you've been burning. It paid off.
"Oh yeah, you're right," freaking out my roommate in college paid off
Oh,
by having
yes.
that statue
Nobody
of
wants to see
Dracula.
pictures of goth Kathy. Oh, there they
There
are.
they are. Okay, there they are. I'm not
No.
joking. So no, but it was incredible, and the place first off, the place we got was an Airbnb. We did
And how
not
was that?
go. Okay, so we didn't go with a hotel like everyone else. There's probably 20 to 30 people that came from Denver and America over there for this trip, and we were the only ones that Airbnb'd it. So everyone else
I,
hoteled it.
I saw the pictures of the Airbnb before you guys went there, and I was like, "That's a really nice place. It looked
Right.
cool."
They showed the inside and they showed the angle from the balcony for the photos that we saw before we got there. What they didn't
Hmm.
show was how you entered into the building and what the actual building looked like and was.
It was like a
So
little ghetto.
it was, no, it was actually communist buildings. It's crazy that people that are over 30 years old out there can talk about being a communist because even though Romania was ruled by kings and imperialists, they're like most of their entire history, at some
Hmm.
point, one of their kings had an allegiance with Germany. And so when the war happened, before they knew it, they became communists. So Mother Russia came down and took all the money out of Romania and made everybody communist. And people that were like, totally like free, had freedom and kingdoms and stuff. They melted all their statues, turned them into communism, and put up these horrible buildings that took away any individuality, anything like that. So people like over 30 years old over in Romania can talk about a day when they had to show up to get a can of oil and a thing of flour to feed their family in their house for the month. Like and so
Um,
they were so happy in 1989 when communism fell.
I saw some of the city looked Parisian and some
Yeah,
looked German.
yeah,
But then, like you said, there's some that was just like four
communist.
walls and a roof.
And it was so scary. And so that's the history of it. So the kings would travel and they would fall in love with Paris. So they would design part of the city in Paris form. Then another king would
Oh, so
have
they
German
borrowed
descent.
off of it.
Kind of, yeah. And so they were like, we loved how
It
they
stole my
did.
look.
They did. And so they, like, the one king loved how France did their addresses and that big thing that's in the middle that looks like a big U that's in the middle of their roundabouts. Like, so he designed some of the city to look like that. And then another king would travel to Germany and like something there. So that's why there's all those different designs. It's kind of
Um,
cool.
how how was the food? I really couldn't get a grip on if anything stood out as far as like, oh, they have this one dish called machlak or
No,
something.
no,
Nothing.
no. I don't think that anything would stand out. Like to me, it was just like
Meat and veg.
meat and veg and potato and everything can be made into a soup. And so like, but it was delicious. So I had a vegetable because you know me, I'm a picky eater. Let's be honest, Larry.
No,
So,
I know. I was worried about you, but like, how
yeah.
was their street food? Did you guys try any of their like? Because you guys were in the downtown area where it's like youthful
So
and loud.
Yeah, we were the Airbnb right downtown. We walked through pigeons and a church entrance to get into our flat where there was a scary
Everybody
elevator the
dreams of
size.
that moment. That
Right,
that happened to me
totally.
in Paris when I was in
Right.
Paris. And this was a weird time in my life where I was actually running, and so I got up one
What?
morning to run, and I ran through Paris with pigeons flying everywhere, little kids getting ready for their little school buses, and
Oh, how
French bread
cool.
baking. I thought I was in a movie. But yeah.
That's
Anyway,
exactly
so
what it was, going into our apartment, into our thing. But we kept saying there's no way that Larry or my husband JJ would have allowed us to stay. You guys would not have stayed where we
we'd be
stayed.
like,
There's no way.
wrong,
You would have been like, wrong.
wrong,
Because it was a communist
wrong.
building, right? And Chris was
Well,
like, I'm having flashbacks to when I lived in Germany and we had to like live in these communist flats. Like, this is exactly how it felt. Like,
yes.
everything feels unsafe.
The
There's no
soap is real
individuality.
hard and it hurts, and the
Right.
water's hard.
Well, our
So wait a
building was
minute.
redone. Our flat was redone. So the inside of where we
No,
stayed
no,
was totally
you
cute.
could tell it looked modern,
Yeah.
but why? So how was the hotel? What, like, because I do prefer. I mean, here's
The
the
hotel
thing.
was
I've
nice. The
done
hotel
Airbnb
was
a couple
room.
times.
Right.
Was nice.
No, no, that you've done Airbnb a couple times.
No, no, no. Yeah, and I'm like not feeling it because like we went to one that was like near my sister in law's house, and I was like, okay, this is kind of ghetto. It looks cute, presented well on the site, but then I'm like, ooh, this pillow is like somebody's 20 people have slept on this one pillow, and I was like, so I put a hoodie between me and the pillow. I couldn't get comfortable, and hotels are just as germy and gross. I don't know why I think it's better, but I don't know. You just assume that the hotel's like in there, like putting the new sheets in, but who knows?
That's where you're so wrong because like you say, I mean like it's a hotel, so most likely every single night that pillow's getting used. Whereas at the Airbnb it might not be every night. There might be a break in the
But
pillow.
you
There
know
might
what
be a
makes it?
break in the
You know what
bodies
makes it
that's going.
worse? No, no. Here's what makes it worse for me.
What?
I'm a night sweater, so
Oh.
if I'm sweating, now I've re-sweat somebody else's sweat in that pillow. You know what I
But
mean?
that
Like
happens in any
I
hotel.
got all sweat.
That happens in the
I
hotels. That's the
know,
same pillows.
I know. We you just something you have to live with. It's just kind of
Okay, okay.
gross. But
Okay.
I'm it is what it is. It's like we've thought about it traveling with our own pillow, like putting it in the suitcase because it would totally smash down and totally fit. So
Yep.
I think I might be taking my own pillow traveling next time, but whatever.
Chris
So
brought his
tell
own
me,
pillowcase.
yeah, I saw that. Did you? I saw like when you were at the official birthday party for your friend. Everybody was kind of dancing around in circles, like it was like a kind of like a
Yeah, we got
their
to do
kind
the
of
dance.
dance,
We got to do the
right?
dance. We got to do the dance. Yeah, where everybody and everybody goes in and everybody comes out and you go this way and kick and then you go that way and kick, but you're all going in a circle that way and oh my god, it was amazing. And there was moments where they had like the traditional Romanian dancers come out and they did one dance that represented like this part of the country. Then they came out like 40 minutes later and did a dance that represented that part of the country. Like it was really really cool. But yeah, I
They're
was
all. This
like,
is the dance where we run from Putin. They're like,
right,
this is where
right.
we shuffle. Because if you guys would have stayed there, like I was worried because Romania shares a border with Ukraine, and Putin's trying to take Ukraine back. So for all I know, while you guys were there, he's like, and I'm going to take this back too. I'm taking Transylvania and Romania. And then you guys are all, oh my
Yeah.
God, we're stuck here. And now we're communists.
Okay, that's a lot. They went into NATO in 2004. It was a very big deal for them. So, yes, so
Right.
they're very
Okay.
happy because I asked them about that. Ukraine's like one country over. Are you guys nervous? And they were like, no, because we're signed with NATO. So, and they're
I wonder.
oh, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
Their middle
No, you
class
go.
is about to start having like a rebirth, they said, because the problem with Romania, it's been bankrupt. It's been like Romania, like Mother Russia, after they were no longer communist. Mother Russia had taken the billions of dollars out of Romania and said, you know what, we're going to store it up here in Mother Russia. So when communism fell, Romania was like, hey, could we get our billions of dollars back? And Russia was like, we have no idea what you're talking about. So
Girl, what billions of
yeah,
dollars are you
well,
talking about?
no idea. So middle class is having a rebirth, which is why the food, like you were asked earlier about the food, like Chris and I, we went to this amazing restaurant and we each had a glass of wine. We had, a little appetizer. He had a meal that was like mushroom and polenta and something. And I had a
That sounds
vegetable
good.
cream soup that had like homemade croutons and a bread basket. And then we split something for dessert. And even with that, with the tip, it was 48 bucks, American dollars. And it was
What?
right. And it was just,
A meal for two with drinks for $40?
and the tip
Let's
for
all go to Romania.
kind
It's
of.
worth it.
And they're starting to
I'll stay in a communist
stop
building.
it. You can
Let's
stay
do
in the
it.
hotel. The hotels were very normal. And down, yeah.
Well,
And everyone speaks English. They speak 5 languages,
oh, really?
actually. For the most part,
Oh,
everyone
okay.
speaks English. So, broken English, but you can get around fine.
Right, right, right. Do you see like any American influence there? Do they have like, oh, there's a Taco Bell and a Five Guys
So
do they have all that
I
crap?
didn't see, they had a McDonald's and, apparently it's known for its coffee. Everyone loves its coffee, but no one really talks about eating there. And it's an actual like restaurant drive, like the one we see out here at McDonald's. It's got a drive through
Right,
attached
like
to
I
it.
bet you any money you could have went there and spent like $6 and got a whole meal.
Right,
Unlike now
like the
here where it's like 17.
it would have been the good old days of going to McDonald's. That's right. But I didn't see
Exactly.
any fast food places. I didn't see, although they don't cook, they don't like to cook any more than we do. So what they do is they do eat out like every night or every meal. But the food they're eating has no preservatives in it. Like we have allowed our companies
All
over
the crap
here
that
to
we
put,
have.
like, I don't know
Yeah,
why
I
we have
noticed.
allowed our companies to have poisoned us so much. Like if
You know
we,
why? I'll tell you
why?
why.
Money.
Because politicians are corrupt and they let things slide, and the next thing you know, they're taking some this money for that and letting things change the law. Oh yeah, you can put that weird stuff in our Subway bread. We don't care, and you can put wood chips in
Right.
our pre-grated cheese.
Yeah.
It's like so messed up.
They were saying that. They were like, why cheese, the cheese is this. What you look at the back of your cheese and it's all these things. Like, what do you,
Oh
of
my
course that's
god,
going
for
to make
sure.
you overweight. And I was thinking that's another point is I really didn't see a lot of overweight people. At one point, Chris and I were like looking around, like purposely looking for people. And yeah, they walk a lot. And yeah, their cars are smaller and
Girl, did
everything's a little
somebody put the
smaller.
people here in the dryer because
I don't
y'all look
know.
so
It
small?
was kind of, I mean, like, it has a lot to do with the preservatives in their food. It has a lot to do with the fact that, I mean, but they weren't eating like crazy salads, but they definitely have like vegetables. So they like bowls of vegetables. So it's like a bowl of the cucumbers or a bowl of tomatoes or a bowl of squash with like some sort of like cheese sprinkled on top. Like they, do that.
Um, I saw that when you went to your friends' different like lake house and stuff. Obviously, they are well off because they have different venues for all these different parties, and they hooked you guys up with tour buses. And the one thing I noticed is that you guys looked so cute. Chris worked really hard on picking out the right clothes. Didn't he look
He looked
handsome
so
on the trip?
handsome because we didn't know what to expect. We were going to a birthday party that was at a lake. And was it indoors or outdoors? Was it, and it's evening, so is it too fancy? So we didn't know what they
Right.
dressed like in Romania. We assumed they were Europeans, so they already were fabulous. So, but
Well,
yeah, we didn't
you
know.
guys, you definitely overthought it, but
Yeah.
it was okay because Chris got a lot of good outfits out of it. But when I saw the actual party, I was like, oh, there's some people that are total cash, like the younger people just in t-shirts and stuff. So it was cool that you guys didn't end up having to go to the tuxedo cocktail dress thing
Yeah.
that we were all worried about.
Yeah. No, thank God, because you were making fun of us pretty good, Larry. Like,
I was worried. I was like, we all overthought it, and it was like more. It was really hot there,
it
right?
was 100 degrees, but everyone, Larry said that I would show up and they'd be like, Kathie, so good to see you. You can go change over there if you need to. The
Oh
changing rooms. Remember when you
yes.
told me that? I
I
was
kept
like,
telling Chris and Kathy that they would show up in their outfits and they'd be like, "Oh, do you guys need a place to change?" And you're all,
this
but
is what we were gonna
uh."
wear. I'll be right back.
Well, I'm glad you guys had fun. I know Chris did. When he first got home, I inspected him for vampire bites. There were none.
Yeah, but
So
let's talk
thank
really
you.
fast about that castle, about
Oh yeah, yeah.
Dracula's
I do want to
castle.
know hear about
Okay,
that.
so Dracula was a real dude, and he was Vlad the
For
Impaler.
real?
Yes, he was Vlad the Impaler. So he was a dude that protected Romania from the Ottoman Empire, from the Turks that were trying to come in and take their land. So he was like, what can I do to seem more imposing than I am? Because we're small Romania, they have the Ottoman Empire, so he had to do like a 300 thing. Remember when he piled all the bodies
Oh,
to be
right.
intimidating?
Too intimidating,
So
right.
Vlad the Impaler, he went and impaled every single soldier on the opposite side, so it looked like a forest of bodies.
He goes, one impaled soldier, two impaled soldier, three impaled soldier. And everybody was like, oh my God, 3.
Okay, so yeah, they counted all the way to like 1,000. And so
okay,
when the
that's a lot.
army showed up, they were like, "Oh my God, what kind of demon could do such a thing? What kind of horror?" And then the rumors came that, and because he won, the rumors came that he had sold his soul to the devil, and that he had become this bloodthirsting
It's so
creature.
weird. He turned into a purple puppet. He's on Sesame Street.
A 1,
He's
a 2,
a 2.
So
was the castle like modernized, or was it still like it was?
So it was built in 16. So it was 647 years old. So it was really cool.
Whoa.
And so it was definitely before electricity or any of that stuff. So it was built to withstand a war. So it didn't have a lot of windows. There was like a lot of places out there look the way they do because they were always under attack. So the people living in their houses didn't want someone to like come through a window, so that's why they didn't have windows.
You're like, you walk by the one window to get a breath of fresh air, then you take an arrow to the face.
Exactly.
Just crawl on the ground like the rest of us.
Do you see
that's going to leave a mark.
Oh my God! Do you see the problems that they dealt with back then? So especially with 100-degree heat.
So no plumbing, like right? I know that way back in the day they would just like take the poop and just throw it out the door, out the window.
Who knows? You know what? There's a big well in the middle of the castle. Maybe all of us that were wishing in it didn't realize it was actually their toilet. Who knows? But but who knows? But it was definitely, there was a secret passageway that you could crawl up that bypassed you from the first floor.
That cost extra.
No, but it did cost.
That was $25.
It did cost extra to go to the medieval room. Did Chris, or the torture room? Did Chris tell you about the torture room, the torture chamber?
That had cocktails and leather people and safe words. And they didn't understand your American safe word.
They didn't understand
it.
They didn't understand. Right. It was that one movie with the safe word was like a long piece of paper.
Euro trip.
Yeah.
Euro trip. Glukums flocken fleek flesh black. Yeah.
Did you say blue?
And the thing's all.
Okay.
That's a really funny movie.
Yeah, they had its moments. So the castle was great, and I don't know, but the torture chamber. It was two things were interesting. First, so many of the instruments were designed to torture women, which I thought was kind of interesting, And the second thing was it said at one point that, like, because it had, the chair that you sat on naked, and they beat things into your legs so that your legs would go into the spikes. And then they had like the bed that not only did they stretch you, they rolled like spikes underneath your back. They had like horrible things that impaled in different places or pulled skin and blah, blah, blah. Right. But at one point it literally said, out of respect for the male genitalia, we really didn't go there at first. It's like, what? That'd be the first thing I'd go for. Like, knock that sucker off.
Kathie's going to put those on stakes in front of her house.
Right.
Bunch of those.
Right, just to send a message.
Everybody's like, what are those? I don't know, but the birds are eating them.
Oh, gross. But Chris and I had a great time.
You're the one who put them on there.
I didn't mean to. But Chris and I, the fact that we went with this group, the fact that there was a tour bus, we avoided having to park a car, walk an extra mile to get to the castle. Like, the tour bus was air conditioned, dropped us off right at the front. Like, everything with this trip couldn't have been better for the circumstances. Like, it was just amazing. Like, the place that we lived in was scary, but it was perfectly placed 2 blocks from old downtown, right in the middle of this and that. Like, everything we chose was just great. It was just a great example of how to live in Romania for the 5 days. It was really cool.
That's awesome. I'm glad you guys had fun. I definitely, I asked Chris, would you want to go back? And he's all, meh. So it's like he got to
Yes,
check it off his
right.
list because there's so many other places that we want to visit. So I'll be like, I'm cool if we don't go there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that you guys did though.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I ever went back, it would just be for a day or two to maybe go into another one of those little towns to see the medievalness.
Chris brought back this pretzel, and it was so amazing. Every bite, even the parts that were like dry and hard,
Yeah,
like Germans know how to make
a pretzel. Yeah,
pretzels
they can do it.
and bread.
And
Oh my god! And
I
you were talking about they don't put junk in their stuff. It's
no,
just good
that's
stuff.
exactly right. Like we need to get a grip on the fact, like it's not us eating bad as much as all the preservatives and the stuff we are eating has us from the get go. And so when you try to eat the healthier versions, which is the nature grocer or any of that, it's too expensive. Like we are,
No,
we need to really take a long, hard look at who is in charge.
you know what I got to say? I'm with you on the GMOs. I think that should be considered and looked at,
Yeah.
but they don't have the seedless watermelon over there, and we do. So I'm
I
just going to call
hate
that a
you.
win.
I thought of you when I was sitting at the lake spitting out the
That's just
seeds.
sitting there spitting out seeds.
I said, I was like, I thought, how barbaric that I have to like get rid of these
Oh, these gross seeds. They're almost
interrupting
like bugs,
my eating of the
ruining your
watermelon
watermelon
experience.
experience. Exactly.
I hate you, Larry Ulibarri.
Clifford, how are you? Thank you for coming to the podcast. He's been a friend of the show when we were on the radio and the Larry and Kathie podcast. This is Clifford Stevenson, who is from Denver, but actually now lives in California. What's up, brah? Oh, look, LA. There you go.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Of
It's been a
course.
while. It's been a while since I've done this.
I know, but you've been involved in so many projects. As friends, I get to hear all the inside scoop of the latest. In fact, there's some projects that you've done recently that you're really not even allowed to talk about. Are there any kind of hints you can give?
Well,
Can I give a
hold
hint?
on.
Can it just be like this?
You've jumped ahead into. You don't even know what I do.
Oh, okay.
You
Okay.
jumped straight into
I'm
what is
sorry.
my mystery job and where have
Clifford.
I done it?
Clifford works in Hollywood. He's a stylist to the stars. He dresses Paula Abdul, Simon Cowell, Randy Jackson. No. You explain to people what you do.
I invented a time machine where I go back to 2002 and style people. Uh,
Exactly.
I do behind the scenes making ofs for films and television. So I will often go on set and I will shoot the making of a movie and talk to people and do that kind of stuff, interviews, that kind of thing, edit it all together, put it out there. But I've been doing that for, I don't know, 20 years.
We've been talking about what a dream gig you have because, like, I would imagine every set is different, but there's like, egos on the set and hierarchy and stuff. And you're kind of an independent guy in there, kind of just kind of laying low, kind of almost like blending in. And so you kind of like have like the perfect gig of like almost everybody there except for the main people who are getting paid millions.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, my job is, and I've said to people before, my job is the one job on set that I don't actually have to be there, and the movie still gets made because I'm
Right.
just there to sort of watch the movie get made and document it, and that's good. And they need that, in order to get people in to see the movie at the end of the day. Um, but it also means that I have a lot of freedom to and autonomy to be. I don't need to be here. I don't need to be here. I can be there as long as I need to be there to get what I know I need, and then I can leave, and I don't have to worry about. I don't have to worry about being there all the time because
Yeah. It's like,
I can't be there all the time to capture every moment on the making of a movie. I'm not there to
sure. I
remake
mean,
the movie.
you almost are scheduling it out to make sure that you're capturing key moments. Has there ever been a moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't get that? And then you try to recreate it and be like, hey, can we try to redo that? Does that ever happen?
No, because again, it's there are moments and you can talk about things. You can certainly interview people about stuff, and there's plenty of moments. I mean, movies are when you make a movie, depending on the movie, you might be making it for 4 months, like actually making the movie. Now you've spent maybe 6 months before that in pre-production, and you're rehearsing and you're building sets and you're doing costume tests and you're doing camera tests, you're doing all these other things, and you're working on the script and you're working on, there's a million things that go into a movie before they actually get to day one where they start filming it. But from day one to when you wrap, that could be 4 months, sometimes longer, sometimes less, but 4 months is a good average, where they're shooting for potentially 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day.
Dang.
And so, 5, sometimes 6 days a week. I mean, the last movie I was on, we got to a point where we were shooting 6 days on certain weeks. If I was to have to capture every moment that happens on a film,
you would have thousands of hours of footage.
Yeah, you'd have more footage than and most of it would be useless, because most of it, movies are very boring things to watch.
Arduous, tedious process.
It's yes.
Have you ever had the people that are in the movie worried about how they're being shot in the behind the scenes? Like,
yeah,
that's not my angle, or I need better lighting.
And that's one of the things. I got kicked off of a movie set once. And it wasn't, and I'll say who it was. It wasn't her fault. She was absolutely right. But I was working on a movie with Susan Sarandon, and they didn't tell her I was going to be there, and they should have told her I was going to be there. And so she basically was like, he's got to go. Like, and the movie
ruining her process.
Not even so much about ruining her process, but you need to let people know ahead of time, like, there's going to be somebody here who's going to have a camera, and they're going to want to be in areas, and they're going to want to shoot things happening. And it's just a courtesy thing that they should have let her know, and they didn't let her know. And so I was like, rightfully so. She should ask that I leave, and you make sure I'm not going to come back here until you have told her, because all of that stuff will eventually get wrapped up into a promotional campaign. So when you work on a movie and I'm shooting all this behind the scenes and I'm shooting interviews with people, that will get used for what's called an electronic press kit. And that is like, what's this movie about? Should you see this movie? Talk about working with this person, talking about working with that person.
The movie that we're not allowed to talk about yet, we've been talking, you and I have been talking just on and off the record, just friendship way. And I know that you are like, we're just filming this and we're very excited about this.
Well, don't say too much of that, because I'm not supposed to be talking to you either.
Oh, okay.
So start that over again.
Okay. Well, I'll edit that out. I'll blur the whole thing. No, but the whole thing is, I like the story that you had where your son kind of had like a really great idea for a project that you were doing, and then it became like a thing.
So my son, Cooper, who was 14 at the time, was going through all the Saw movies leading up to Saw.
Which is kind of cool. Your dad's working on the Saw movies. I'm going to watch them. And it's really cool because, like, I talk to you all the time when you're like, oh, I got to turn the boys on to the Thriller album, or I got to turn them on to the Saw movies. And so it's cool that he was, like, really getting into it.
He decided he was going to watch the Saw movies. We got to Saw X. And Lionsgate, who's the studio that put it out, for years and years and years, I think starting with Saw 2 or 3, created a new logo, the Lionsgate logo that would start the movie, that was like these grinding gears, and it was rusty.
Right.
And
it kind of looks like bloody.
It's all weathered, and it's bloody, and it's the grungy version of what their logo was at the time.
Right.
But they hadn't used it since about 2012. I think right before Hunger Games came out, they stopped using it and went with this newer logo that they had created for Hunger Games, because they were trying to brand themselves more in the studio.
Like the big guys.
So Cooper got to Saw X and was watching it. And he said to me and my wife works for Lionsgate. He said, I don't understand why they're not using that old logo that they used on all the other Saw movies. It was really cool. Like, why aren't they using it? And because Saw X actually takes place between Saw 1 and Saw 2, it kind of made sense that you would use that logo to start the movie. And we were like, yeah, why? You know what? That is weird. Why aren't they? So Lisa kind of brought it to somebody at Lionsgate, and then she reached out to the director, Kevin Grudert, who we'd been back and forth with, kind of putting all the making of stuff together and interviewing and commentaries and things like that. And Kevin was like, oh, I really, I like that idea. And he mocked up a version and he sent it up to Canada where Oren Kulas who's one of the producers of the whole Saw franchise. He was doing like the final looks on Saw X, like picture's good, sounds good. We're locking this. We're done. It's got to go to international, the whole thing. And he gets brought in and they're like, we got to show you something. And they showed him a version with the new Lionsgate logo. And he was like, they're like, okay, I don't get what you're showing me. And then he goes, all right, hold on. And he goes and he shows him the mock-up that Kevin did with the old Lionsgate logo. And Oren basically just kind of lost his mind and was like, unbelievable. I can't believe we didn't think of this. Like, how did, everybody but this 14-year-old kid
to figure
it
it out.
took somebody not close to it to just go, hey, I connect with this thing. Why aren't you guys doing this? And to their credit, they weren't precious about it. They weren't like, well, that wasn't my idea. And they got pushback because it delayed the international release. And it was like, when to put a new logo at the beginning, to take the new one out and put the old one back in, it's a major step because you have to put the movie back online basically, and you have to swap those out. The timing might not be quite correct, and you have to, the sound's got to be now redone because it needs to
so
go.
Basically what you're saying is your son caused a big pain in the ass, but they loved the idea and they did it anyway.
Well, and they loved it so much that they premiered the film at Fantastic Fest in Austin, like in mid-September, early September, something like that. And Cooper and I actually flew out to Austin and went to Fantastic Fest, and they brought him out because it was a surprise screening. They didn't tell anybody what you were seeing. Everybody just bought tickets and showed up. And so then they kind of figured it out, but they brought him out to basically be like, this logo, when you see the logo show up, this is the guy that had it. Thank you so much. And we can't. And now Lionsgate is kind of it's reinvigorated their kind of horror pedigree to where they're putting that logo back on their horror movies now. Like they kind of realized like, oh, we had this great branding and we got away from it. And so that one change that this 14-year-old kid suggested and everybody else thought it was a great idea suddenly changed the course of how all these movies are kind of getting put together moving forward.
I love it because it's definitely going to be the bug that bit him to get in the business. I mean, he was probably already headed there anyway, but just to be able to get something so simple and make such a huge change, I think that's super awesome. And I think it's even better that he's at like film camp. I mean, how cool is that? Like, what do they do at film camp?
They're making movies. They're
so cool.
He had a heads up anyway because last year was his first year of high school and he actually took a film class. They offer a film class, so he actually took a film class all last year.
Oh my God!
And he's
You're
got
raising
me
a little
and
baby Steven Spielberg or something.
He called me last night and told me about this. The second he's made 2 films now while he's been away, and he was telling me the second film, and I was laughing out loud at the sort of punchline because they're just short films, but the punchline of the short film, it actually made me laugh out loud, and I was like, that's really clever and that's really funny.
I love the fact that you guys are, you and your wife are in the industry, and props to Lionsgate for keeping the scary movies going. I think a lot of people love those and really want those and more of those. But your wife is amazing. And the fact that you guys can pass that along because, when you watch the credits roll, there are so many jobs, like, especially like on those like Marvel movies, it's literally like, it seems like thousands of people are working to make those movies happen. So, it's kind of like endless, like the possibilities of where you could end up, right?
Well, yes. And here's what I will say. Growing up in Denver,
he's from Denver.
I'm from Denver. Is that
it's a thing.
That's not paid promotion. I'm going to need to get paid.
You just endorsed us. Thank you.
Okay. I was from Denver. No, I'm from Denver. So, growing up in Denver, this seems a million miles away. This is, unless you want to be Ed Green and you're like, I want to be the weather. It's a million
Listen,
miles
don't
away.
let's not mock the weather people because they get paid a lot of money to pretend that they know what they're talking about, and they get recognized at Whole Foods every day.
I'll just throw out Adele Arakawa, and then you'll be like, how long's he been gone from Denver?
Listen, Adele
So
Arkawa, before she went into the news, like her hair was lowered like a Darth Vader helmet.
Steam comes out.
I'm Adele Arakawa, and
She's
these are the
it's like the
headlines.
Predator where the things all have to pull
Oh
out
yeah.
and the mask comes off. But this seemed, this is a million miles away. And what I wish I would have known, and which I now can pass on to my sons, is get the fuck out. Like,
Right,
don't
like
stay somewhere.
Hollywood's full of phony balonies, and they're going to try to touch your
No,
goodies.
but don't stay somewhere. If you know what you want to do, figure out a way to go do it. Don't stay where you're at. Don't stay.
And hope that it comes to you.
In the same way, it's not just me. If you were like, I love skiing, well, okay, great. Don't live in Arizona your whole life. Go somewhere where it snows. Go where the thing is that you want to do, and don't wait until, like I did, till you're in your 30s to sort of be like, oh, I guess I can go do it. Because, with him,
Right, like because if you would have left sooner, you would be Steven Spielberg. But the thing is, you're Clifford Stevenson, and the thing is, even before you were doing what you're doing now, you were still in the biz. You were working with big names. You were like working for The Simpsons, the people that put The Simpsons stuff together. And
right,
so
but
you've always
that's
been
kind of my point. Is these things that seem a million miles away, and these things, like, I could never have imagined growing up living in Denver, where it's like, watching Stallone movies my whole life, and then all of a sudden I'm in a stretch of where I'm seeing Stallone every couple of weeks because we're working together
right, like
on
you've actually
multiple
worked together.
films.
No,
And he
it's true.
calls me on the phone, and I'm like, this is the weirdest life I could have chosen, but I did choose it.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you've always been movie obsessed. You've always been
Yes.
a huge movie fan. You worked at uh, movie places like Laser World or whatever, and like
Laserland on Colorado Boulevard.
right, and you were always, the tech guy that had the best HD this, and you knew what was coming out, what had the best
Right.
whatever. And so the fact that you were so immersed in movies that when you made it out there, you kind of already kind of like had a passion for it. And so it is amazing that you ended up being a fan, and then now you've interviewed and hung out with like everybody from Sandra Bullock to Keanu Reeves to Susan Sarandon, everybody. And yeah, it's really something that amazing that you accomplished, because when you were here, I made you
you were
run
a
the
loser.
president's mistress to her house because we were doing a
By the
radio
way,
show. And
that
Bill
story
Clinton's
is one of my favorite stories because it's a story I tell to people, and I'm like, this is going to sound made up. This is one of those stories where if I tell you the story, you're going to go, there's no way that actually happened. There's no way.
So what happened was, President Clinton had like some mistress, shocker,
Jennifer Flowers.
Right, and she was one of the million women that came forward and was like, "Oh yeah, he grabbed my."
She was the main one, though. It was like her
right,
and Paula Jones.
They were seeing each other.
Two main ones.
Right. This wasn't a girl that he just went honk honk. They were actually seeing each other. Anyway, it came out. She moved to Denver for whatever reason, and so we were like, right, a lounge singer, and we were like, hey, we got to get her on the show. So she came in the studio, and we interviewed her, and you were there hanging out, and all of a sudden, press had gathered in front of the studio, and she didn't want to deal with it, and so I looked at you, and I was like, is there any way that you'd want to give Penthouse playmate Jennifer Flowers a ride home? And you said yes.
No, and the story is so much worse
home?
than that. Right. The story is so much worse than that because this is 90, maybe 94.
Okay.
Somewhere maybe 94, 95.
Sure.
I smoked then. I drove a really terrible Honda CRX. And so I was like, Yeah, but you got to give me a minute because I got to clean up this car because I was, I was in my 20s. I was
It
probably
was a mobile
24.
ashtray, is what
It
it
was a
was.
mobile. I was like, it was awful. It was terrible, and
But
it was just the worst
she
thing in
was
the world.
okay with it because it was either go with you in the
Or
ashtray
go and
car or
deal
go
with the
where the press
people.
was, right?
Right. So I'm like, all right, well, you got to give me a couple minutes so I can go clean out my car and maybe like
You're
brush
all trying to put on a little cologne, like
the
maybe that you'll
garbage.
get a chance with her. You're all, hey, looking in the
No, it
mirror.
wasn't even that. It was just embarrassing. And then I get back to find you guys trying to jimmy open a different CRX, thinking it's my car, uh, like panicking, trying to get the door open so you can get her in. And it's like, yeah, it's not my
You're
car.
all, meet, meet. Oh, he's
Yeah.
over here. Yeah, there he is.
And so, yeah, I took her home
Oh my
and
God, you took her home.
I took her to her home and then she did sign like an 8x10. She said it. She actually mailed it to me. I don't think I have it anymore. But she sent me this 8x10 of her
Is it the penthouse
penthouse
cover?
cover signed by her for me.
Yeah, yeah. I have the
Uh,
penthouse cover signed by her.
yeah, I don't know where mine is, but
Well, I'll give you mine.